So let's talk about why the game is called Diablo Immortal. What are the Immortals, the faction? How do we become it? And why are people, including the own team that I'm a part of, going to shoot for Immortal? What are the bonuses that we get? And how do we even obtain it as a squad? Because it is probably the most sought after in terms of competitiveness aspect of this game. You're going to want to push for it in order to get a bunch of cool rewards and a bunch of extra access to certain areas of the game. Let's talk about it. So if you want to go ahead and check out this entire article, go ahead and leave in the description down below. But let's talk about the Immortal itself. What is the Immortal? Well, it's one singular person. They become the Immortal. Then there's 4 lieutenants that can also have unique bonuses as well. Then there's the rest of the clans. You're going to have 3 clans that can be a part of the Immortals. And based on the recent chats that we've had with developers, is going to be a size 100 clan, so a total of 300 people can be a part of the Immortals, but there's only one Immortal in of itself. Now, how do you actually become the Immortal or be a part of the Immortals? Well, you're going to have to get an invite after completing a quest line. However, if that is not able to be done, the other option is to join the Shadows, which is basically like an opposing clan or an opposing faction to the Immortals. And you'll have to lead your Dark Clan into battle in several different challenges in the Rite of Exile and the Challenge of the Immortal. If you do happen to win, you'll go ahead and take over the Immortals position and become the Immortals yourselves. Now, only the top Dark Clan will be able to do this, so it is a tough battle, not only for the Dark Clan, but also for the Immortals, because you're going to have to defend your title every so often. It's quite frequent, actually, and it's not going to be easy because you have so many people vying for your spot and you'll have to defend against all of them. Now, you'll have the Immortal and a few lieutenants here, as you can see, 4 of them to be precise, and you'll be able to designate also kind of like the captains, which are the elites, which is really, really cool. Now, this thing called Cycle's End, essentially, is when the Shadows basically beat you in those challenges that I went over earlier. You're going to go ahead and trigger this event where the reign ends, and then that new Dark Clan is going to become the Immortals and have special new daily quests, certain raids and things that we're going to go over later, as well as certain buffs that you're going to obtain as soon as you get access to the Immortals. What is the buff? Well, it's called the Founders buff, and I believe this is actually the founders of the clan itself, so the 100 members. The improved Founders buff is granted to the leader. This Founders buff is absolutely massive. Now, when you actually become the Immortals, you'll get a 4-hour buff. Granted, this all could be different when we actually get to launch, but who knows? This could be the same. So 4 hours after the completion of Rite of Exile, we're going to get a huge magic find boost that could stack if you are in a party up to 200%, as well as the leader getting a bunch of damage and movement speed, as well as a magic find increase, which is absolutely massive. This is the time to go ahead and press your advantage. Once you obtain the Immortal status, your job is not done. You're going to have to push even harder. Make sure you get use out of that huge buff. This is just one of many of the advantages of being the Immortal as soon as you become it. And then after you do join the Immortals, you're going to have to complete basically all the quests that come along with it, because you need to unlock every single thing in regards to the Immortals, getting all the bonuses and things like that. And remember, you're constantly being challenged for your Immortal status, so you do not want to slack on any of the things that we're going to be talking about. There's also daily goals, which are basically like daily quests, and should be done every single day to progress the Immortal status. There's the Immortal rewards, and one of the things that I should talk about first is the crown abilities. These are specific buffs. The Eternal Crown, which is granted to the Immortal, gives it to the entire player, basically all the players, or all the Immortals, rather. Well, the other 4 crowns are specific buffs in an area. And this Eternal Crown can actually be progressed to give you increased damage and defense. Now, mind you, this is a lot of increased damage and defense, but you're going to have to complete daily Immortal quests, which means that if you're not, you're going to be kicked out of the Immortals. Those guys are here to play, so if you're not playing daily and pressing your advantage, you're going to have a hard time to actually rank up and get the power you need to fight off the Shadows. which are the other faction. Then there's the other crown powers, and you have these for the Eternal Crown, as we said, grants a bunch of increased attack or increased stats, as well as just in the area, you're actually going to get increased attack speed and cooldown reduction. We have increased critical hit chance. We have increased evasion rating, increased or reduced damage, and then we have healing every 5 seconds. And those are the 5 different crowns. You can place them on your separate lieutenants, probably within the main squad that the Immortal is going to be running with, because you're going to want all the bonuses you possibly can for the Immortal. Next up, you have basically the extra rewards that are going to be granted, and this is allowing you to increase prestige, which is a ranking system, so allowing you to get extra loot from the vault, which we'll go over in a little bit. So we'll be able to get more hilts and things like that, different resources in the game. And then you'll be able to get Immortal Cloaks. This is just a cosmetic feature. Pretty cool, though. I think that's a nice little feature. There's the vault, which I went over just a moment ago, or mentioned just a moment ago. This is some really, really awesome loot. However, this is something that you'll want to pay attention for, because people can actually raid this thing, and we'll go over it in just a minute. But this vault can actually drop some insane loot, some of the best legendary items with multiple stats that you want, up to 3 stats, and those are some of the rarest legendary items in the game. So definitely want to be paying attention to the vault and pressing your advantage as much as you possibly can in order for you to get those awesome items. And you get that by contributing all these different quests and all basically doing things as the Immortals and just pressing your advantage. That's generally how you're going to get the points. You can see daily goals, contribution in terms of raw essentia, defending the vault, which we'll go over in a little bit. And you'll be able to basically get vault distributed based on the actual contribution points if you'd like. And then we have something that I think is really, really cool, is defending the vault. So there are specific times when this vault opens. I believe I think the developers and people with Blizzard mentioned that it might be from like noon to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and there's another option later on in the day. I don't exactly know the times available for that, but the important to note is there's going to be 2 times per day where the vault opens for a few hours, and the shadows can go ahead and steal the vault loot, and then you're going to have to go in and log in as the Immortals, preferably the entire clan of Immortals, to kill off enemy players, gain actual resources in terms of hilts, and make sure that your vault loot isn't stolen, because that is some of the most valuable loot in the game, so you do not want it to be stolen. So pretty cool there, and it's going to be adding loot to the vault over time, and so you definitely want to defend it as much as possible. Then one of the final bonuses that you're going to get as the Immortals is the Kion's Ordeal. This is a 48-player raid, essentially, that basically puts you as the clan of Immortals against several bosses. And if you go ahead and rank up that Eternal Crown by doing your daily activities, you can go ahead and fight harder bosses, getting better loot, which is insane. Super, super cool. And we're going to get this by getting that Essentia and all that good stuff from doing daily quests. And we can obviously increase the difficulty, as I mentioned. And there's a lot of different strategies with that, but I'm not going to go into all that because obviously we are not in the game, and so we don't know how strong, what the mechanics are and things like that too much. Then the Immortal, just back to being the Immortal, there is an insane amount of basically a huge target on your back when you're actually the Immortal, because as I mentioned, there can only be 1 Immortal per server, and that's going to be 1 player in your guild. Your rest of your guild is going to be a bunch of nothing people in terms of, like, they don't know you. Everyone's going to be focusing on being the Immortal. So you're going to have a lot of people trying to target the Immortal, take the spot in terms of being the Immortal, and then also just in general trying to farm the Immortals for the vault loot and things like that. So you have to keep that in mind. It's definitely going to be a stressful position if you're going to be going for the Immortal, because you're going to have to constantly be keeping a track of not only your entire guild and managing them, but you're also going to have to make sure that you yourself are an incredibly strong player and skilled player in order to defend your Immortal title. So there's a lot of things to do with the Immortals, but it's actually one of the coolest systems I've ever seen in a game. Now, I'm pretty sure that it's going to be very, very difficult for anyone to attain the Immortal status even once. That being said, I believe us over at Aftershock United is going to absolutely dominate the US West server, whatever one that may be, and we're going to absolutely just take over the Immortal slot and keep it for a very long time. So if you want to be a part of that, I'm going to leave the Aftershock United Discord in the description down below. That being said, hopefully you enjoyed the explanation on being the Immortal, because I know it was a little confusing myself. People talking about I'm the Immortal. I don't even know what that means, what it actually entails. Turns out it's a very in-depth system, and I'm looking forward to being a part of the Immortals and perhaps maybe being the Immortal myself one day. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you for the next time.